Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Open Mic Comedy Podcast. I'm your host, Marc. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. This podcast is here for everybody on the open mic comedy circuit, whether you're a comedian, an MC, a promoter, or a tutor. Hey, even comedy fans who enjoy watching the stars of the future in the pub basements around the world. If you're thinking I could do that, then this podcast will guide you on what to expect on this crazy circuit from those right in the middle of it. Today's guest, as a bin lorry driver, he loves his double Ds. He's an advocate for support in the community, also known as Weatherspoons, and he's a full-on supporter of Jedi mind tricks. So please welcome to the stage, it's Mr. Nick Holloway. Hello, mate. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, yeah. God, you've done your research, man. Yeah, wow.
I like to try. So, yeah, we might go into some of those comments a little bit later on.
Yeah,
but they definitely relate to certain parts in certain people's sets. So
yeah,
I found them quite amusing.
thank you.
So how you doing anyway?
I'm doing fine. Yeah. Everything's ticking over. Keeping busy.
So when did it all kind of start for you then?
I grew up loving comedy. My they introduced me to the sitcoms, which I loved growing up. So like Only Fools and Horses, I used to watch them religiously in my teens and whatnot, and they've always kept me really entertained. And I used to love watching comedy on the telly. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago I went to a gig to watch a very well-known comic, and I'd never really done it before. And he smashed it, sort of thing, absolutely smashed it. And I was so in awe of how someone could go out and just make thousands of people just laugh their heads off. I was really envious of it. And to be fair, I was knee deep in Stella at this event as well, and it was all just like, wow, this is incredible. And I was on the tube on the way back. I was like, I want to give it a go. How bad could it be, sort of thing. So I waited until the new year, like January 1st, when you set up your New Year's resolutions and whatnot, And I thought, well, I'm not going to try dieting this time because that never works. So I'm gonna surprise everyone by attempting a stand-up, right? So I did a bit of recon on how to even get into it because I didn't know at all, and I stumbled across a very local comedy club near me. Messaged the guy Ryan, and he booked me in. He gave me a 2-month window, and he said, "I'll book you in for this month, and then we'd advise you if you want to come down and watch one first, sort of thing, and get a feel for it, and then if you still want to do it, then happy days, So I came down, I watched it, enjoyed it, thought it was great, and I thought a 2-month window was good, because that would really give me some chi time to get my act together, And I thought I did, I put together what I thought was an okay 5 minutes, and then I got there, and the majority of it, I don't really know how it would have gone because I completely froze after 2 sentences. Yeah, it was horrible, really horrible. The moment really got to me. Yeah. My friends were there as well. I wasn't even going to say anything to my friends, but then about 2 weeks later, we all went out, and of course, I just coughed it up, sort of thing. And they were like, "Well, we're not going to miss this, and we've got to be there." And I did get advice from a couple of people saying I wouldn't advise bringing friends and family because that just adds pressure. But if I'm being honest, it was my friend who saved me that night, really, because I was stood up there forgetting why I was even there in the first place, just completely looking around the room, couldn't think of anything of what I'd written down at all. And my mate shouted out from the back, like, "Look at your phone, like you got your material on your phone, haven't you?" I was like, "Oh yeah, shit, yeah, hold up." So I got my phone out, had a quick look. I was like, "All right, yeah, I'm back in the room. Yeah, okay." Got the rest of the act out, but the damage had been done, So everyone was really nice, and but it meant nothing to me. Absolutely nothing. You know, like, oh, you did well, you got it out. Don't worry about that. It happens. It's your first one. And I was like, no, that's not how it was supposed to be. Yeah, this was my moment. It didn't happen. And I don't care what any of you lot say. That was a fail. And I called off for a bit. It took me about 15 minutes or so. You know, I was like, okay, yeah. One of the acts came up to me and he said, you did really well. Like your first one, really. I mean, just getting on the stage and getting up there and giving it a go deserves respect. You know, it doesn't matter if it was funny or been up there. So about 3 days later, I got a message from the guy who ran the gig, and he said, give it another go. And he gave me some details for another comedy club that was also quite close by. And I messaged the guy, right? And he got back to me. Lovely guy. His name's Alan Wood. And he got back to me and he said, yes, Nick, we'd love to have you there. Don't worry that it's your second. It's a nice, cozy little open mic, and you can do your act with confidence, and you know it'll be great to have you. You know, don't worry about it. No pressure. So I got there, and I went in, and it was chaos. There was like over 100 people there. I couldn't believe. I was mortified, absolutely mortified. I went in there. I found Alan. I introduced myself, and he said, "Oh, hi, Nick. Nice to meet you. You know, you're right." I was like, well, "Yeah." What the fuck? What's all these people doing here? And that was the moment I was waiting for him to give me a little bit of like calm me down a bit, give me some reassuring words. But what he did instead of that, he looked back at me with mutual terror and was like, I don't have a clue what's happened, Nick. I don't know what's going on. I don't have I've got to find some chairs. And then he just buggered off, sort of thing. So there I was at the bar. Like I was just chilling around. I was like, what have I done? This is a nightmare. This is horrific. And I was chilling at the bar. Adam walks back in and he's with a couple of people that are watching the evening. He's just having a chat with them. And then he introduces me to one of them. So this is Nick. He's performing tonight. And the bloke looks at me and he goes, yeah, he looks funny. Yeah. I bet you're hilarious, mate. Sort of thing. I'm just standing there, just I want to go home. And then on top of that, he brought me up first. I couldn't believe it. Yes.
Oh no.
I went up there, did my 5 minutes, and it was amazing. Like honestly, I could not believe how well it went. It was so good. You know, I went off to a giant applause, got laughs. And I was up all night because of this adrenaline hit that I'd never experienced before. You know, I was so psyched. It was so good.
Yeah.
And also on that night, I bumped into a female comic who was also performing that night. And she came up to me and she said, would you like to perform at one of my gigs as well? Which is a massive compliment. So I said, yeah, of course. Yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, fair. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And it all just went on from there, you know. So yeah, we get to here and I'm talking with you now, you know. That was
so how long ago
just
was
over a year ago. So about yeah.
Okay, so it's been quite quick then.
I did. Yeah, so I did a couple of gigs for this female comic, and then I applied for a couple of others, and I got those. And then after a while, you just seem to be getting gigs left, right, and centre. You know, that was it was amazing. You know, I got a lot of help. You know, you meet people, and I don't know, they just like me for some reason. So they said, would you like to take part? Would you like to take part? I was like, yes, of course. Yeah. You sure? Yeah. Anything I can do, I'm happy to do it. You know,
Yeah.
it's been great. Yeah.
When you've done no course or anything like that,
No.
no real learnings, it's just a case of getting up there
Yeah.
and doing it.
Yeah.
So how did you go about constructing the first set then? Did you have any idea what you were doing, or was it?
I had ideas. I had loads of ideas written down. I just didn't know which ones to pick and how to link them together.
Yeah.
You know, 90% of my material, to be honest with you, is all fact. It's all experience in life. And then the other 10% is like a little steroid injection into it to give it a bit of extra spice, if you like, you know, just to emphasize it. And so I thought, you know, I'm not a political, I don't do political comedy, I don't do dark stuff or anything like that. I wanted it to be me, my personal life, you know. And because I've gone through so many things that, say, like, you know, bus driving and stuff like that. And, you know, I did bus driving for 3 years, and I said for ages, you know, you need to get the BBC here, put a camera at the back, and you've got a sitcom right there, you know, like just watching the world go by. The amount of stuff that happens day to day, you know, you'd get ratings through the roof. And, you know, like Weatherspoons as well, sort of thing, you know. It's you know, lots of people go to Weatherspoons. That was another thing. I wanted to keep my humor quite as relative to people, you know, like, you know, have it in common. And I thought, you know, most people like drinking, you know, so I worked in Weatherspoons. You know, most people have been on a bus, and most people have their bins collected, you know. And I think that's how I all sort of interlinked it together, really.
I guess as well is that it's I kind of, because I'm a bit like you in that it's a lot of the stuff, the stories I tell are 90%, if not more, based on fact and what happened. And I've kind of learned that that's a nice little cheat code, because it's harder to forget because it happened. You don't have to remember. You know what the funny is. It's now just you to emphasize those funnier bits, get them out there. But you know what happened after you drove the bus, after you parked here, after you missed that stop. You know those bits because it's still in your mind. Kind of thing.
And the thing is, like, another thing though is you got to be. I mean, I found this out the hard way. You know, you got to be quite careful about what jokes you do in certain places. And I did the Gong Show a few months back, and my material beforehand with the buses had always gone down well, you know, pretty well. And I got up there, and it was going well. You know, I was like, I'm in on goal here. You know, I'd got past the 2.5 minute mark, and I thought I'm doing a lot better than quite a few that have come up here so far. And then I went to do my bus jokes, and I completely forgot that a lot of people in London get on buses, and I just start taking the piss out of them all. And it just, one card, two card, you know, it was just like straight away, you know, I came off, and I was like, oh no, why did I think of that? You know, but so you know, for next time, don't you? You know.
So where do you gig mostly
then? Mostly Farnborough, Farnham. I've done a couple in London. Basically the South a lot, you know. I mean, I'm with this. I'm sort of a part of this company at the moment, and they're sort of dotted everywhere, but they're mainly South sort of thing, you know. So I've got one in Bournemouth coming up, Plymouth, and then Dartford. You know, they're everywhere at the moment. But at the start, it was just Farnborough, Aldershot, Farnham, and the surrounding areas near there.
Yeah. So was the first time on stage your worst moment on stage?
No.
This is going to be funny then.
I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own trumpet or anything. I haven't died that many times, but when I have, yeah, I really have, you know. And
yeah,
I did an open mic and I wrote some new material that morning, proper rushed it. But I sort of thought in my head, you know, I've seen people go up with notes, you know, and it's not frowned upon or anything, you know. There's just you're there and you're doing your new stuff and you're checking it off. But you know, that I found out that only really works for people who have short burst jokes. You know, they say a line, they do a punchline, and then they move on. I'm not like that. I do my comedy's more storytelling, you know. And I I wrote it down on my phone, went there, and just started reading off my phone. And I was about 30 seconds in, and I was thinking, this is a disaster. I was getting nothing. I couldn't even look up at anyone. You know, I couldn't make eye contact. You know, the pressure was too heavy. And I stopped after 3.5 minutes, I think it was, because I finished the sketch. Looked up at the guy who was running it and went, right, well, that's it. And he had his arms folded and he was looking back at me and he just went, what? Went, yeah, that's it, mate.
Yeah.
Okay, that was Nick. Yeah. So I vowed after that I would never ever read material off my phone again, like ever. That is, you know, not for my comedy anyway. I mean, it can work for some people that you can read short jokes or whatever. It can work, or you can, you know, you can multitask and whatnot. But I couldn't do that. I felt like I was reading them a really shit book for 3 minutes. That's what happened, you know. And I did have another one, which I'm not really sure what happened with it, to be honest. I think I don't particularly like the whole it's a bad crowd and whatnot. And then I got to this gig, and then I sort of found out, okay, yeah, there actually are just crowds that you just won't please at all, you know, because I gave them all my haymakers, you know, and my the preferred set is quite aggressive from the get-go because I like to win them over quite quickly, you know. And so I did that and I got absolutely nothing, literally nothing. I thought, well, I've used all my best shit now, you know, so this is gonna we'll just have to go. I felt like I was doing a gig in front of a big photograph. Like there was no movement, no nothing. It was just silence.
Yeah.
And I was really gutted about that. You know, I'm quite a, you know, I wear my heart on my sleeve sort of guy. I didn't take that very well. You know, I've watched a lot of your episodes, and they all talk about, you know, how to deal with a bad gig and whatnot, and people get frustrated, and you know, but I really get frustrated. I'll come home and I'll be just don't come near me. I don't know why I've done this. You know, just don't do it anymore. Sort of attitude, you know. But no, yeah, you do get through it, and you'll go and do another one, and it's all good.
Yeah, you have to try and learn from those bad ones. But to make the good ones better, you have to go through the bad ones at times because you can never please every single audience you're going to be in front of, and if you can learn on what to do when that doesn't happen, rather than, you know, people can come regimental to their scripts and stuff, and they keep going and keep plowing on and plowing on and plowing on, and it's getting nothing's happening. And that's the point where you just kind of got to think to yourself, okay, this isn't working. What can I do that's different? Okay, there's time to talk to some people and see what happens.
Yeah. I mean,
it's quite hard to do in the early
stages.
It
is. You know, I've got a couple of sets. I mean, I haven't really been doing comedy that long. I mean, I've been doing it just over a year or so, and I developed my main set, and I you know, you tweak it here and there, and you get to a point where you're like, it's bang on, sort of thing. And It just kind of got me when it worked at most places, and then you go somewhere and then it doesn't work at all, and you just think, what on earth happened?
Yeah.
Like, was it? Is it
Mm.
me? Did I do something? Like, was it my energy or what sort of thing? I think that's when I knew that I should probably start doing some new stuff. When you have a gig like that, I think it's like, well, maybe you should try some other things. You can't just rely on that one set forever, sort of thing. You've got to broaden it out a bit.
Yeah. I get it. So what about best moments then?
Oh man,
Relive those.
I mean, I really enjoyed the Gong Show. I really did. I mean, if you want to go somewhere where you have 5 minutes, well, not a guaranteed 5 minutes, but you have a moment to really feel like a superstar.
Yeah.
That is where you go. I would recommend it to anyone. I don't, you get a lot of people who, they don't think it's good it's not an accurate representation of who you are as a comedian, sort of thing. But I think for the experience, regardless, it's bang on. Where do you really get to go, get the opportunity for nothing to go up and perform like that in a club like that? It's unbelievable. But I'd say I did one in Arundel not too long ago, and that was amazing. I mean, I'd never met any of the comics there. Never been to Arundel. Lovely place, by the way. Great venue. It was packed out, and I had this moment where I was, the laughs were going on for too long. I found myself in a position where I didn't even know when to start my next joke. I dropped a punchline, and they were howling. The whole place was going nutty.
Yeah.
And I was about to start my next joke, but then the laughter started up again, and I was like, "What is going on?" Sort of thing. This is crazy. And after the gig, I had loads of people coming up to me saying, "Well done," and loved it and all that. That was, Arundel was a special gig, and I did one in Farnham as well quite recently, and that was at a theatre. That was 300 people went to that one. And and that felt awesome, to have like a proper stage, and there was a backstage. I was like, oh, I've never had a backstage before. You do get, it's weird though, because you go to some gigs which are just in a pub sort of thing, you just turn up and you do your bit and you go home. And then, you could do that. And then the following week, I did one in Westbury, and they had a green room for me. And they gave me a tour of the building, and they showed me all the sound equipment. They're like, "We've got 4 mics. Is that enough?" Sort of thing, like you've got 3 backup mics. I'm like, yeah, 2 wired, 2 not wired. Here's the sound system. The bar's over there. Have whatever you want. Snacks. Just go nuts. We're here for you, sort of thing. I was like, okay, it's crazy. Yeah.
You don't get that in many places. I mean, I remember the first time I ever did Beat the Blackout, and I walked into the building and you checked in at the desk, and they went, "Oh yeah, just go and grab yourself the bar's over there, grab what you want, and then just go and wait up in the green room, and we'll call you like the MC will come and give you a talk 15 minutes before everything kicks off." And I'm like, the green room?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
And it's red.
Yeah, I know. But it's that moment, isn't it? You walk up and you go, "Shit, there's other people here."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, this is like a setup."
Yeah. Yeah. I'm doing the Blackout next week, actually.
Are you?
Yeah, it's first time doing that one next week.
See, that one's quite nice, because it's this is where I have the whole quandary about whether gongs are good or not and stuff like that. I go through this turmoil in my head every single time. But if I was offered the chance to perform for 2 minutes on a comedy club stage, just 2 minutes, and that's all you've got in front of 200 people, I'm like, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah. I'm the same. Yeah, absolutely.
You just got to not take it to heart if when those cards go up and you're like, oh no.
Well, I think I mean, I never gave myself a target sort of thing, but
Yeah.
the atmosphere of it, the comedy store, it blew me away. The music, the lights, it's a full house. And I was like, I'm going up there, when we're going to give it a good go sort of thing, and I was really happy that I've managed to last my 3 minutes or whatever it was. It was a really short 3 minutes,
Yeah.
but, no, I loved it. I'd recommend anyone to do it. It's scary. It does sound scary, but not many people get through to the final. That's the thing. There's only like 3, 5 or so on a good night.
Yeah.
So just go out there, do your thing, and the crowd are meant to be. It's designed to be quite hostile. So just go up there, say your bit, and enjoy it.
Yeah, I watched because you can watch it live on Facebook, the Comedy Store one.
Yeah.
And I watched it the Monday just gone at the end of May. And
I haven't seen that one yet.
Only 2 people got through.
2
whole
people.
Night. 2 people.
That's mad.
It was absolutely insane. They were like, we're running out of time here, or as in, we're supposed to be filling this place till like whatever it is, 10:30.
Yeah.
And you're like, we've only got 5 acts, and it's just not even 10 o'clock yet. Yeah. They're pulling people out of the crowd.
There was a part of me that kind of thought, because there was the girl that went up prior to me. She said she'd never done comedy before, and she was doing it because she lost a bet. And I thought, wow, I mean, that's quite something.
Yeah,
and
that's yeah.
She survived about 19 seconds or something, So but in my mind, I sort of thought, well, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be a bit better than that. I've actually got jokes prepared. So, but yeah, some people like that. One girl went up there, she just said hello and that got a card. They just, it was crazy.
Yeah. There's been a few occurrences where you see somebody go on and they'll say something, or they won't have the right look or something, or they try to be too quirky, and then all of a sudden it's like gone. You're like, oh, okay, didn't give him a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing somebody I know got on there, and he started his set. It starts on I wouldn't say controversial way, but it sounds like it could be controversial. And he got gonged off before he got to the first main pit, which was probably about 35 seconds in, because I think everybody felt nervous.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they were like, I don't know what happened, but the MC said, no, we want him back on. We want to hear what he's going to say.
Right.
And they brought him back on, and he survived the full 5 minutes.
Oh, brilliant.
And you're just like, give the guys a chance.
Hi there, I'm Reb Day from episode 36, and I do apologise for this interruption of the Open Mic Comedy Podcast. Every comedian painstakingly takes us through their journey into the comedy world, and even though it might sound like they hate talking about themselves, they actually love it. And I hear you asking, how? How can I, a person with the ability to listen to podcasts, give back to those whose idea of a good night out is being applauded at and praised? The answer is simple. And the answer is brilliant, because it's free. All you need to do is give the Open Mic Comedy Podcast a like, a follow, and hey, maybe even a 5-star review. Thank you so much for listening to the Open Mic Comedy Podcast. I've been Reb Day. Let's jump back into the episode.
So, joke writing, when it comes to real life stuff, then what's the process you kind of go through?
So, before I started comedy, my first gigs, I'd put together ideas. I've got a load of ideas all stacked together from things like mostly jobs and interactions I've had. And I'll be like, yeah, that was quite funny. That was quite funny. When I heard that sounded quite good.
Yeah.
And then I'll just try and link them together somehow. Sometimes they can just appear before you. Like the whole Dave and Dave joke, that actually happened because I was working with 2 Daves. You know, I jump from round to round,
Yeah.
and you get your loaders, and I'd always ask like, well, who's going to be working with me? And they said, "Oh, you're with Dave and Dave," and we all laughed at that. And I was like, "That's the most classic fucking bin lorry thing going, that, isn't it? You know, sort of thing. You know."
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll like with the bus driving jokes, I've asked other people, other previous drivers, like, what's your funniest moments and stuff like that. We can try and merge them together.
Yeah.
You know, most of my writing I can't really do at home because the kids are just, you know, when you're a pet. I'm not saying that it's impossible to be a comic. Well, actually, I'm living proof that you can have 3 kids and be a comedian, you know, on a part-time scale anyway, you know. So I'll do most of my material writing whilst I'm at work. You know, I'll be driving around and some things will just sort of pop into my head, you know, and then I'll jot them down. And because I've tried writing at home, and you'll be on the fringes of something special, and then all of a sudden it will be, "Daddy, Daddy, hello, I need something." And you just, so you just can't really get it. But no, at work, in the scene, you know, you're there. It's a part of your sketch, you know, and whilst you're in the environment, you can get a feel for it, sort of thing, you know. I don't really know what I'm talking about, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know how I write.
I mean,
I don't read.
Is it a case of you're kind of writing on the fly in your
Yeah,
head?
just I'll be driving along, and things will just pop into my head, and I'll have a little giggle to myself, and I'll be like, that was quite good. And I'll just write that one down, and then I'll just try and piece.
Yeah.
You know, I think a couple of people I've seen you do interviews with, they're quite similar to me. That when you're waiting for a punchline, it's so difficult to find, but then at some random moment, it will just present itself. You know, that's very much me as well. You know, I have the ideas, but just piecing them together, you know, it's that little 10% just to add it up a bit. But also watching other comedians, watching how they walk around the stage, deliver their energy. And it's just little things, you know. I mean, I noticed with storytelling, I was taught that if you're going to do a very long story joke, it's going to have to be worth it. You know, you've really got to deliver a good punchline for that, you know. But just to make things a bit better for you, try and put a couple of little jokes in it as well. You know, tag it a couple of times, you know, then get to the final punchline.
Yeah.
And then at least, you know, you're keeping the crowd warm, sort of thing, you know. So at the start, I'd do a story.
Yeah.
And I could feel the room getting a bit like, where's this going? Are we actually going to hear something funny in a second? And then about 10 gigs down the line, I was like, right, okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to filter in a couple of other small, unpredictable hits and then catch them off guard a bit. And then we keep going, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've come up with stuff on a whim. I've been up there and I've just thought, you know what, I'll take it a bit further. I'll just try and say something just to carry it on a bit. Some work, some don't, you know, and the ones that do, I keep in. And to be fair, I've only got one good set. You know, the rest is up for debate. You know.
So with like the because you're not inside of London, what's the kind of circuit like around you? Because I mean, I don't know if you've had any experience of much gigging in London, but there's loads of open mics every night, everywhere. You could just get on and do anything pretty much any day of the week. But I'm guessing out in the sticks is a little bit more sparse.
I've had quite a few opportunities. I mean, I've met a couple of comics early on, and they organise their own gigs, and they've always been they've always been great to me because majority of the times they'll always invite me. And so when it comes to gigs here, I mean, I do get quite a few down here, especially in Farnham. Farnham is unreal for comedy. There's so many different places for it. It's a small town, yet there's still so many going, and I mean, I'm in Southampton. I haven't really done many in Southampton, but I'm doing that Comedian of the Year, the Hampshire Comedian of the Year in Totton, and I'm in the semi-finals for that, which will be in August, which I'm looking forward to. But I've done lots in Farnham. There's obviously one in Farnborough, Aldershot. I've done one there. Horsham, Finch Hampstead. Yeah. So there are venues there. There's opportunities there, definitely. I also saw another one just opened up quite recently, again in Farnham. They just it's like, if I apply for that, that'd be the 5th place I've done in Farnham.
Wow. Okay, that's
crazy. Yeah. No, they love it.
So, how have you actually found being on this circuit with other people? And is it a supportive environment? And is there things that you, I don't know, weren't expecting and stuff? Any surprises you've had along the way?
This might sound stupid, but I didn't expect there to be that many comedians out there. That was one. I thought I'd be maybe one of the, well, maybe not one of 100, but maybe there'd be, I don't know, a few thousand, and then you start, and then you realise they're bloody everywhere. There's so many, it's ridiculous. Nearly everyone I've met has been brilliant. I can't really recall a bad experience I've had with another comic. I mean, I might have seen the odd thing which isn't really, I wouldn't say it's bad, but I think when you get people who give you advice straight after you've got off and you think you've had a good set, and then people are coming up to you going, I changed that bit, or you could have said this. And I'd be like, who are you? Like, it's just not needed, sort of thing. If I wanted advice, I'd ask you, sort of thing. And I have done in the past. I've said, what do you think? And if I ask you, then I feel, then I'll accept the advice, sort of thing. But if you're going to go up to people, not just me, numerous people, and just start saying you should change that, or I would have said that, I think that's probably the worst I've seen. Just people being like, giving advice when it's not been asked for or needed, for that matter. You see the odd ego out there, maybe, but I'm not surprised by that, to be honest.
No.
But most people, I've been very lucky with the close group that I've been with. To be fair, they've given me a lot of opportunities, and almost like a family vibe in a way. It is, because you go to some gigs and you'll gig with one person, and then a few weeks later you bump into them again, like, oh, it's you, sort of thing, like, how you doing and whatnot, and that's really nice, and they'll talk about their previous gigs, and then you'll chat about theirs, and then it's a case of, right, well, I'll see you when I see you, when so I really like that part of it. That's nice. But I think I've been given a lot more opportunities than I ever expected to be given, considering over a year ago when I didn't even know how to apply for one. And now, I mean, I've been given loads of people to contact, and people have contacted me, and it's relatively straightforward for me. Sometimes obviously it's not a yes every time, sort of thing, but I get how it works a lot better now.
With only being kind of new to this in a year, within a year, and you're outside London, what's the kind of set lengths you get given these days then?
My longest has been 15. I mean, that's the longest I've had. Generally, I've always done 10. 10 is always what I get given. I've done the odd 5 here and there. The the Comedian of the Year in Tottenham. That's a 5-minute slot, which is surprisingly difficult when you've been doing 10-minute sets for quite a while. And I didn't know how to, because then you've got to put all your material on the table and be like, right, what am I losing? That's difficult. And then I got there, and then they said, well, you technically get 6 minutes. I was like, well, now you tell me. Still, like,
I think five is the hardest. 5 sounds like it's the easiest amount of time to do, because it's over fairly quickly. But I do think the hardest is 5, because especially as you get more experience, especially if you're a storyteller as well, trying to get all of that information out in 5 minutes. It's a bit like when you watch King Gong at the Comedy Store or something, and somebody comes on stage and they're all fireworks and everything straight away, and as soon as they stop and they have a pause for even like a couple of seconds or a second and a half, the crowd energy's died down because they've stopped.
Boom.
So you kind of have to come on with the energy that you want to continue all the way through, rather than go, this is me, let's do this. And I think whenever I've done a 10 and you go back to a 5, you're like, I'm now just rushing jokes and losing impact of everything. And then it comes across as you don't believe it, and you can't express it well enough, and then the crowd go, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, at the Gong Show, when I was doing my lorry jokes, I was really trying to space it out as much as possible. But then obviously when I made that change from the lorries to the buses, it all went pear-shaped. And the crowd, I think the noise of the crowd got me as well. And it wasn't a bus-related bit either. I made some sly comment about my wife. It went completely off script. I don't know if you want to keep this in or not. Basically, I did my normal line, but then I called her a bitch at the end of it. Right? Yeah. All I would do, I just went, right, listen here. Yeah. That would be the normal bit, but I went, listen here, bitch, sort of thing. And then all the females in the crowd went wild at that. Like, it was boo, boo, oh, how dare you. And then all this screaming started, and I completely lost track of where I was. And then I did the bus stuff, and then, oh, no. So, yeah. I came off. I remember my mate who came with me. He was like, "Why'd you say bitch?" I was like, "I don't know. I thought it'd be funny. I was just in the moment."
At that moment, you think you're there talking to people that know you and know exactly what you're like and
that's what
how you use profanities for expression and stuff like that. But you then soon realise, oh no, they don't know me, and I've just come across as somebody that's really aggressive towards women when I haven't meant to.
That was gutting though. It wasn't even in the script, and somehow I lost them for something that wasn't even originally there. It's just, I just thought, oh, I'm doing well here. I'll express myself a bit more, and sometimes that's just not a good thing.
So you're doing more 10s and 15s and stuff like that. So do you have ambitions to take it further to sort of like 20s and stuff like that?
I'd like to, definitely. I think with the sets that I have combined, I've probably got a half an hour in there somewhere. I just need to piece it together. But I did started with the 5s, and then I've gone to the 10s. I'm just quite happy doing the 10s. But I haven't really gone to many places that will allow me to do more than 10 anyway. But in the future, definitely, yeah. Especially with some of those gigs. I mean, some of them are just, you're up there sometimes and you just don't want to leave. When it's all going well, you just want to keep going. I mean, I've had a couple before where I'm all out of jokes and I'm upset about it. Like, this is it. Time to say goodbye, and then I'll weirdly just watch myself back the whole evening, going, "What a stud!" Wait for it. Yeah,
there's,
you hear that noise,
That's the laugh. That's the laughter you want. But I mean, I mean, there is only people that do it will ever understand the true buzz that happens when things go well, and you come off that stage and you know everything's hit, and you just come off smiling and going, yeah. And if you get somebody who comes up to you and says, mate, that's the best I've ever seen you do, you're like, yes, that's it. That's what I
Yeah,
want.
it's so good. It makes it all worth it,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
And then,
You know, so I did comedy on a bit of a whim, really, when you think about it. You know, it was a case of I'll try it once just to say that I've done it, and then a year later, I'm getting an applause for my material, and it's just like, you know, it's all worth it. You know, you made the right decision.
definitely.
You know, 'cause it's kind of odd at the start because, you know, no one really saw me doing comedy. I didn't really see me doing comedy, and when you start telling people that you are, it's kind of you get odd responses, don't you? You're sort of like, Nick, doing comedy. Why? Well, just giving it a go. Well, all right, well, okay, yeah. But then when you start to prove to them that you can do it, then it's yeah. I mean, my friends have been very supportive. My family have, but you know, they love it. My mates and my family, they love it. They just thought they every time I meet up with them, they're always asking about it. You know, it's a good feeling. And so if you meet someone like one of their mutual friends that have like, oh Nick, yeah, he's a comedian. Did you know that? Yeah, hi, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a weird place to be, isn't it? Because people go, oh, he's a comedian. It's like, to me, it's like, no, that's just a sideline thing that I do for a bit of fun.
Exactly.
I don't.
It's just it's a hobby.
Yeah, I don't kind of class myself as a comedian. It's more of it is a hobby. If anything was to come of it, then hey, let's give it a go and see where it takes me. But you know, I'm not going to be jacking in my job in and doing unpaid fives and tens around the country. You know.
Well, my missus thinks I will be. You know, she's like, "Oh, is your Netflix deal coming this year, Nick?" Like, no. Like, right, okay.
I mean, even like a year, it's so early days, isn't it? And this is the thing is that if you say to somebody, I say to a friend, you know, oh, you know, I've done 100 gigs. They're like, wow, that's loads. And you go, it's not loads. It's really not loads at all.
Not.
Until you
No.
see what other people do, and you kind of go, oh yeah, I know people that are in the thousands and thousands of gigs. You're just like, yeah, I'm 2 years in and 100 or so gigs in is that's still baby steps for me.
It is. You know, and I bet I'm not even 100 yet, and you know, I've been very lucky with the people I've met. You know, I've done gigs with people who have been right up there. Did a gig in Horsham, and Steve Williams was there, this Welsh comic, and he's done the Apollo, the Palladium, and I recognised him, and it was so weird, you know, just seeing him there. You know, I was like, I know that guy, and there was only about 10 people that turned up to this gig.
Yeah.
And before I went up, he gave me a proper like game chat and everything. He was like, "You're going to go up there and you're going to fucking own that stage, yeah. And you'll tell them your jokes, and they're going to like it. Don't you be defeated by those lot, yeah. I'll be watching." And I went up there, and it all went great, you know. Yeah, it was well for 10 people anyway, you know. But it's that experience. You get to talk to people with all that experience, and they can give you these little hacks and motivational support when you need it. You know, all the ones that are on it more full time that I've met, they are really supportive and nice. You know, which is great.
So, any fringe ambitions or anything else like that in the future? Any fringe ambitions like Edinburgh Fringe, Brighton Fringe, or doing a split bill show or anything like that?
I mean, anything's up for grabs with me, mate. I'll give anything a bash. Yeah. I'm not. To be honest with you, I wasn't really sure what an Edinburgh and Brighton Fringe was until a few weeks ago. To be honest, everyone was talking about it, and I was like, "What are you lot going on about?" But no, yeah, definitely, yeah. And I'm very much in the zone of if it happens, it happens. You know, I don't have a set target, if you like. You know, I'm very much in the boat of I'd just like to see how far I could go, and then if I don't go as high as I wanted to, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm just happy to go with the flow. You know, so yeah, there is no limit, but I'm not expecting to be selling out shows anytime soon. You know?
Hey, but if you did, leads nicely into the next question. If you did start
Yeah.
selling out shows, what music would you choose to walk onto the stage to?
I'll tell you what, it's a little weird fact about me, right? So whenever I'm driving to a gig, I have my own music set
Mm-hmm.
that I listen to on the journey there. I don't know why I do, but I have certain songs
Yep.
that I listen to on the journey there. Also helps me revise my act as well,
Okay.
because I've done the act so many times
Yeah.
to these songs, and if I'm ever if I'm revising in the car, I'll listen to the songs and I can easily just go through it in my head. I'm not panicking and worrying about it, you know. So all the songs sort of, I don't know, they sort of bounce the material back at me somehow. But I've thought long and hard about this song, and it was the first thing I thought about when I became a comic, actually, because I thought that's the most important bit besides being funny, thinking about a song. Go All the Way by the Raspberries. That's a top draw song to come out to.
Okay.
Love that song. Yeah, yeah. If I could choose one, it would be that one. Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's just got a good bad boy vibe to
Yeah.
it. You know, rock and roll. Let's do this sort of thing. And I think it screams Bin Lorry Man as well a little bit for some reason. And just, you know, rough and ready geezer.
Yeah.
Let's do it. You know. So, yeah, yeah. It's like I mean, I always like to portray that I am just a simple bloke having simple laughs. You know, I go up there dressed in trackies and a Primark shirt, you know, and just be as much of a geezer as I can, you know, and that I tend to find that a lot of it, you know, receives well with the guys, but it also goes down well with females as well, because I'll take the piss out of myself for annoying my wife, and they'll resonate with that, you know, like with the bin lorry stuff, forgetting to put the bin out, even though I'm supposed to collect it, you know, that goes down well with them. So I think it is good to have your own persona in a way, but keep it as personal as possible. If I was to give anyone advice on what to do when you how to be when you want to try comedy, I would honestly say be as much of yourself as you can, because there's so many acts out there all trying to do the same thing. There's too much. Mate, I've started a bit. You're gonna have to cut that bit out. But I wanted to be an individual. I wanted to just be me and just showcase what I find funny and what has happened to me in my life, and keep it personal, but also relatable. Yeah. So if someone came up to me and said, "What should I do when it comes to comedy?" I'd be keep it as simple as possible, relatable as possible, and as much about you as possible. Yeah, because there's a lot of people out there who are trying to do the same thing, the same sort of genre, the same jokes. They're just saying it a bit differently. If you can be yourself, I'd say, and be as much of an individual as you can, you'll do a lot better. Because, you know, people out there, they try and do the dark jokes with, you know, like Jimmy Carr. We already have a Jimmy Carr. Yeah. We already have these comics, you know, that they all try to be like. You know. I think that's another thing besides the books, because I'm not really into the books. I'm not really into the courses. I'm not a classic apprentice. I'll just watch and learn, and then I'll take advice off people. I'm not saying, by the way, that courses are a waste of time. I'm not saying that at all. You know, if you feel that, you know, I would recommend them if you want to get a taste of what it's like early doors, and give yourself a bit of preparation. You know, unlike me, who just went straight in at the deep end and couldn't get my words out. You know, so you know, you got to
Yeah.
Yeah,
But all I'd say would be is to be as individual as you can. Keep it simple, and don't worry about your first one. Just get on the stage, and you'll get respect for doing that. Doesn't matter if you're funny or not. Yeah, that would be my advice.
No, I think that's great advice. I really do. Being an individual in a world where a lot of people are the same when they go on stage. You see it at comedy gigs, don't you? You see it a lot of time. It's a lot of the time, unfortunately, it's just white male after white male after white male after white male, and then you get to that point where you kind of think, I'm just kind of blending into the background. But if you can be authentic with yourself as you, then you will stand out.
Yeah. I completely agree. Yeah.
So the little fun bit I love doing on this podcast, if you've listened all the way through some of these episodes, is I like to set the comedians a little challenge to do live on stage.
Oh shit. Okay.
I like to set the comedians a challenge to tell a joke from this joke book called
The
Little Book of Shit Jokes by Sid Finch.
Good.
The idea is that the comedians get to pick a random joke from this joke book, tell it on stage however they want, adjust it however they want, but try kind of keep the premise the same. But you don't get to pick it by words. You only get to pick it on by a page number. So what you're going to get is, I have no idea. So if you can give me a number between 5 and 95, we'll see what you end up with.
6.
6. Early one. 6. Okay.
Let's have it.
It's a short one.
Good. Easy to remember then.
The joke I want you to tell on stage at some point and film it and tag us in it, put it on Instagram, is what do you call a snowman in the Bahamas? A puddle.
Nice. That's not, nice and original. Yeah. I'll tell you what, that will be my opener for the next one, just to reel them in. That's not as bad as some of them you've given out. I've seen some of the other jokes.
You've got off lightly with that one.
I have, Number 6, baby.
Well, I like to try and do a thing. Is I always wonder if anybody's ever going to think of this. Is that I did it when I had to do this challenge. Was that when it was a silly joke like that, it was I made out that the kids told me the joke and I was relaying it to the audience, and it works quite well when you do it that way. It's a little hack, because nobody wants to not laugh at a kid's joke.
That's true.
Don't make me go home and tell my daughter that nobody laughed at her joke. Don't make me do that.
That is true. Yeah, that's a good one.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then it's done. But it's just a bit of fun, and it's
no, it's good, mate. Yeah. Like I said, I got off lightly there. I tell enough stories as it is, like, oh God, here comes another one. But no, that'll do. Yeah, that'll do nicely. Yeah.
But so where can people find you then online, and areas you're gigging in again?
So on Instagram, it's Holloway Laughs. My Facebook it's not very comedy related. No. I mean, there's a few drunk photos on there if you want to look at that, but besides that, it's not all that. Gigs I'm doing the Blackout next week on the Thursday the 5th. The 5th. And on the 23rd of August, I'm in the semi-finals for the Hampshire Comedian of the Year.
Good luck with that.
Thank you. And the rest I don't have a Scooby-Doo, to be honest.
But all in the farm.
To be honest, my calendar's not really that full at the moment. It's not that full. I've gone through a complete wave of doing loads, and I thought, oh man, I'm really up against it here. And then before you know it, you've got none left, and you're like, oh, crap.
It needs that's the other thing people never tell you about being a comedian or trying to be a comedian is you have to plan ahead. If you take 2 months off and then you decide to go back into it, you're not probably not be gigging for another month after that until you book those gigs in, because you're unlikely to get a gig the next week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I see this as a gig. This is probably one of the toughest gigs for me. Look all the chaotic freaking trouble we've had today as well. My God.
Yeah, it's been a challenge, but we've got there in the end. I think we've got there in the end.
No, I do apologise for it, mate. Honestly, I do. I knew from the get go. I was like, laptop, right? That's fucked it. Should have just driven there. Met up with him. Could have been fine.
Yeah, I guess. And lastly, you can find us on Instagram at Open Mic Comedy Pod. We have a website, openmiccomedypod.com. We've also somehow, I don't quite know how, we've actually been featured in a podcast.today newsletter as a rising star or something to look out for, which was quite a surprise. So have a look on podcast.today if you want to see what other podcasts they recommend. There might be some good ones, but never as good as this one. And yeah, I just want to say thank you again, Nick, for your time today and your patience.
Oh, no dramas, mate.
And yeah, and for everybody else, I will speak to you all very, very soon.